Happy Ethereum ETF day for those that celebrate. And yes, this has been a wild last minute 180 by the SEC, but they did approve the Ethereum spot ETF. At least the first phase has been approved. Now we have to wait for the S1 applications to be approved, which is a process that might take another couple of weeks. So we might not be starting to trade those Ethereum ETFs until mid to late June. But let's do this one by one and look at the Ethereum ETH price today. ETH is trading at $3,700 and has actually been flat ever since the SEC approval has been made public, but you do see massive volatility here. There was actually a mad dump right before the announcement was made, literally minutes before that, and then shortly after we rallied back up again, but we never really crossed 39.50. So we scratched around that level. We didn't go to 4K, so that means we're kind of flat sideways ever since this is public, and the market has priced most of it in the day before the approval. Remember that 25-30% pump that ETH had within a day. So that was basically the pre-ETF pump. Now I think we're going sideways, maybe a little bit further down. Like in January, there was a lot more noise. There was a lot more excitement. Now I also feel that Ethereum is probably also an asset that some people don't really want to see, even within the crypto community. I think there are some Bitcoiners that don't really want to see this because now they are in disbelief because now there is a second best. And yes, there might some people asking, yo, why are crypto bros celebrating this? But the truth is that this is reopening the liquidity gates. This is a fresh new influx of capital that is coming into our industry, which means there's going to be more hirings, more people, more developers, more builders, more marketing, more everything. The pie is growing. There's going to be more competition, more onboarding strategies and everything around that. So the industry just grows and keeps growing faster. And at the same time, it also drives more credibility and legitimacy on the space, because a lot of people are still, that is just the truth, they're still acting upon what mainstream media is saying, what the news are saying, what politics is doing. And crypto is now on the political stage. Donald Trump kicked that off last week. The Democrats are now catching up, and they're actually now changing their tone to crypto. They're actually now slowly at least pretending that they're embracing it. But also we saw some bills that have passed, the FIT21 and also the sub 1-to-1 that actually was rejected, that didn't pass, but in the favor of crypto, basically. The CFTC that now has more of a say, and not only the SEC, on how to classify cryptocurrencies, which might mean that most of these coins are not actually considered as securities. And this gives us more room and more flexibility and more time for this industry to mature and to onboard more users, onboard more people, and eventually also to have more liquidity coming into this market. This is really what we need. And during the last bear market, no one really had the answer to what this liquidity event is going to be that just brings new capital into the market. But here we are. The Ethereum ETF and the Bitcoin spot ETF, of course, are the answer. But before we get too euphoric, we also talked about it in the recent video, that there's still a lot of hurdles before we actually start trading the ETF. And yeah, there's also still a few outstanding approvals, for example, from hashtags that didn't get to file all the papers and figure out all their paperwork in time. So we still have to wait on that. So the big question is now, what is next? What are the next moves? And what can we expect for the rest of the year? And Shenyu is actually predicting here, or stating here, a rough roadmap, a year-end roadmap. And yeah, we just saw this event here. The 19B4 was unexpectedly passed. And then the fastest we might see the S1 applications to be approved in early June. This usually takes between 2 weeks, fastest, and 3 months, the longest. It might take, yeah, a bit shorter, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a month or something. But I think some of the tweets I saw also were indicating it might just take a couple of weeks. And once this has passed, then we might start trading these ETFs imminently, or at least within a couple of days. And then that means we could start trading as early as late June. And then from June to December, we might see the early stages of the listing, the first kind of capital that is flowing in. But I also feel like that some of these institutions, even those that have bought Bitcoin, they still need to do their homework on Ethereum, on ETH. They probably see it also as a more riskier asset. Some may not, because ETH actually has more utility. You can do more stuff with it. There's a whole ecosystem on Ethereum. It's more of a kind of active capital and active asset. And then from December and a month later, we might see then more and more money flooding into this as more institutional investors are gradually entering the market. Looking at the Bitcoin spot ETF flows, we see another $108 million in inflows, which is great to see. Yet another green day. BlackRock, another time leading the pack, 89 million in inflows, Grayscale, 14 million in outflows. So the flipping is imminent here as well. And yeah, this has been another green day here, as you can see on the Bitcoin spot ETF flows. Now let's talk about Cosmos, full focus on Cosmos, the Cosmos ecosystem and the Interchain, starting off with the news from yesterday. I really want you to watch this video from yesterday where I talked about the launch of Solana IBC. Picasso has made the unthinkable possible and enabled IBC compatibility not just in Polkadot, not just on Kusama, not just on Ethereum, but now also on Solana. I actually made a trade inside of that video where I'm showing you how you can use that Solana IBC extension and float between Cosmos chains, Ethereum, and Solana through IBC. So Picasso Network is doing God's work here on bringing IBC everywhere. That's their mission, and I think they deserve a lot more recognition for being aggressive shippers when it comes to bringing IBC everywhere. Also, I want you to follow Rex John here on Twitter. He's now working with Solana, but he was previously super active in Cosmos. He was also working at Saga before joining Solana. And he's now saying that he wants Cosmos teams to reach out to bridge IBC to Solana. He's also very bullish on this Picasso integration, and he's going to support from the Solana side, which I'm highly supportive of. I'm also a big fan of Solana. I'm a big fan, obviously, of Cosmos. That's my native ecosystem where I'm home to. But Solana is also very amazing. And I think especially the way they're onboarding users, onboarding developers is something where the Interchain can learn from. Then we also have some breaking news from the Interchain Foundation. The Interchain Foundation is the main organization in Cosmos that is comparable or basically the equivalent to the Ethereum Foundation, the Solana Foundation. So really that core entity that has a lot of funds, they have hundreds of millions of dollars, and that is actually there and has a mandate to maintain and grow the ecosystem, onboarding new developers, hardening the tech stack, supporting and funding projects and initiatives that would just expand the Interchain. Now, Brian, who is also the CEO of Chorus One, he used to be the president of the Interchain Foundation for the past year almost, and he just announced that he's no longer a member nor president of the Interchain. And what happened was that there was the foundation council meeting that had the election of Sunny to join the foundation council, as well as his own re-election on the agenda, and both proposals failed. So neither did Sunny join the foundation council, nor did Brian get re-elected. And obviously this means now a shift in leadership for the Interchain Foundation. And to be honest, I've always been a little bit puzzled on how the Interchain Foundation actually operates and about the accountabilities and decision-making, especially internally. Processes seem to be very slow, but it's also true that the ICF still has funded a lot of the infrastructure development and a lot of teams that are now building and contributing in the Cosmos and the Interchain. Even Celestia in the early days, they supported them, they funded them, and so on and so forth. So yes, they have done and funded a lot of important things in the past, but I think they could have taken a much more proactive role similar to the Solana Foundation. What the Solana Foundation is doing is absolutely top-notch. They mastered the game when it comes to deploying developer onboarding funnels, leading user acquisition campaigns, having physical events, meetups for community members around the world tailored for that location. An event that you're doing here in Dubai is very different to an event that you're doing in Medellin, right? You really need to know the local culture, the local community, their level of education and involvement in crypto, in Cosmos. So you really need to tailor each and every event to the local community vibe and their knowledge and understanding of crypto. Then also generally marketing efforts, and basically also restoring some of the vibes that builders and founders in Cosmos are actually proud Cosmos builders, because we're now at a point where a lot of builders are actually saying, yes, we are building on Cosmos, but we're actually not proudly out there bragging about being Cosmos. And while it's not necessary that these people are actually doing that, it would be nice and beneficial and just a boost for the adoption and growth of Cosmos if those founders, especially from the multi-billion-dollar chains, right? We're talking about Mustafa from Celestia, the founder of Kronos Chain, which is also full on Cosmos Chain, Fetch AI. If those multi-billion-dollar chains in production, but also the ones that are coming up, Movement, Initia, Berachain, if they were all out there and like proudly promoting that they are a Cosmos builder, DYDX, right? We talked about a lot here on the channel. While yes, it doesn't matter if they do it or not, but it of course would be nice if they did it, right? So we need a lot more of that. We need more alignment, and also the ICF could or should fund a super team-like organization. For those that don't know, super team is an effort in Solana that is on a global scale now, and they have identified key regions where they're physically hosting events, but also virtual events, workshops at the universities. And also they have a platform, an earn platform, where Solana community members can come to and just get paid to do translations, to create content, to make videos, to do educational stuff. So this is something we urgently need in Cosmos. And I've been watching for this. We're also trying to do this with Cosmos, but it's extremely hard with zero funding. So that's a challenge we have, but I think the ICF is in a position to fix that. And hereby, I also want to propose a candidate to become the president of the ICF, and that is Chris Amani, who has also been here on our channel a couple of weeks ago. He's the CEO at Terra Money, and I think he's one of the most articulate, outspoken people in Cosmos. And he gives me like the Eric Voorhees of Cosmos vibes. I think he is really a leader type of person that also understands where the problems are. And he's very, UX, UI, and product focused. And I think this is someone who could really make a difference. I also have a couple of quick news that I want to share. Number one here, Berachain and Union are synergizing. They partnered up, in which Union becomes the official interoperability partner for Berachain for all of their IBC assets. Union is a Cosmos SDK layer 1 blockchain that is optimized for interoperability. And they've done a couple of great partnerships in the past, but this is probably the biggest one yet. This means that all native IBC assets will go through Union, also all staked derivatives and all Bitcoin staked derivatives. I also think that the Bitcoin meta is going to spill over massively into Cosmos this year, where you have the Cosmos Hub announcing a partnership with Babylon on integrating their Bitcoin staking protocol, and also Lorenzo protocol, the first consumer chain on the Cosmos Hub that is going to leverage that technology and offer Bitcoin liquid staking as a service. Then we also have Osmosis that announced that they will also use something very, very similar and also become Bitcoin secured through Babylon. And also Persistence that also announced STK BTC very, very recently. So Persistence also going to more and more align with Bitcoin and align with BTC5, Bitcoin finance basically, which is something that is going to be very, very big this year. So this is very good to see. Berachain also on the other side becomes a launch partner and the liquidity hub for Union. So this is a mutually beneficial partnership that goes both ways. Next up, we also have another airdrop announcement from Electron. I already talked to you about it, how there's going to be an airdrop for NTRN holders and governance participants. Now we have another community, and that is Cloud Innovators, the AKT community. Active users, get ready for your airdrop. This project is going to launch on top of Neutron, but they're also now giving out an airdrop for AKT alongside Atom, Osmo, DYDX, and yeah, as I already said, for Neutron as well. Then we have some other news from Evmos. They announced a partnership with Hack Network, in which Hack Network is basically going to upgrade their chain to Evmos. And Evmos is a licensed software that is basically the evolution of what's previously known as Ethermint. So remember how in the early days, Ethermint was forked and copied many times by many chains, including Kava, and also Kanto and many others. And the Evmos team then decided to license and protect their code base and basically also turn this into a business model, which is also something that we've seen now after the announcement with Ripple. Now we see Hack Network, the next one, that is partnering to upgrade to Evmos. Hack Network is also a project that I've been hearing about for the past years, but I've always been very cautious with them, to be honest, because they raised a lot of money, and their biggest kind of selling point was the meta around onboarding the Muslim community. They also have kind of Sharia compliance. There's also a council that would basically approve that. But yeah, it's always been a little bit kind of strange to me, the project. But nonetheless, good to see that for Evmos, this means that EVMOS is getting more and more adoption. They basically want to overtake Polygon, Arbitrum, and Optimism and become the most widely adopted EVM framework out there. We have a great thread here from Sebmos about bad kits and a spotlight on who actually owns a bad kit, including podcasters, strategy leads, product managers, co-founders, and just other famous bad kit holders. And you might be able to get a bad kit for less than 100,000 stars right now, which at the current price is around $1,600. So this is a massive discount right now, considering that this was trading at $8,000-9,000 just a couple months ago. And lastly, I have some very, very sad news to share, which is that Kabosu has unfortunately passed away. And Kabosu was the dog that is actually the logo of Dogecoin, the original logo that also inspired and kicked off Dogecoin and this whole meme and this whole meme community, meme coin mania, that is now turned into a multi-billion-dollar vertical in crypto. And this is a big loss for obviously the Dogecoin community and also for the meme coin community in general, right? This has had a huge impact, this one dog across the world, and it's absolutely massive how much Kabosu has contributed to this. But anyways, I still hope you enjoyed the video today, you learned something, and let me know what you think. What are the next steps now? What is the next direction going for the prices, especially for altcoins? Because to be honest, I really think that an altcoin season is overdue and we really, really deserve it. Most of these altcoins are still down 70, 80, even 90% from the all-time highs. So we deserve massive relief and everything is primed now. We have the Bitcoin spot ETF, the Bitcoin halving, the Ethereum spot ETF. We have elections coming up and crypto is going to be a big topic on the rallies. We have a lot of macro relief. Also, just generally, the fundamentals in crypto are getting better and better. IBC is getting out there. The tech is getting more resilient. DeFi is getting more resilient. Liquidity is coming back in. So we're all primed for a massive alt season, at least massive relief across the board, and then potentially also a huge bull run towards kind of late summer, maybe later this year. And yeah, we'll see where this is going. But as always, crypto is 95% pain and suffering, 5% glory, but it's going to be worth it. And if you're sticking around, if you don't give up, if you're not getting dragged down and get depressed and frustrated by the price movements in the short term, then you are going to make it and you're going to be fine. That said, I hope I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and be good.